What is good, YouTube? What is good, YouTube? Welcome in to the show. I'm your host, Tavares Wilson, as always. I get the last word. It's Last Word Productions, episode 23. Michael Jordan, LeBron number for a former number from boy LeBron. But let's get right into it, man. We're going to do a post-game show for the travesty that occurred yesterday for the Miami Dolphins. And to say the very least, it was terrible. But before we get into that, man, gotta always introduce my man Larry. What's up, boy? How you feeling?
Uh, let's get it started, man. That's all I can say for right now.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, man. There's only so much you can say about what transpired last night. So let's not squander around and beat around the bush. We gotta get straight into it. So with that being said, man, let's get into the numbers first from the game last night before we get into anything else. And we will get into everything, but let's get into the numbers first. So Tua finished the night 17 to 25, 144 yards, one touchdown, three interceptions. Skylar Thompson came in after he had got hurt, went 8 for 14, 80 yards. I mean, didn't look any better than what he's been the last 3 years or 2 years, however long he's been here. Devon Achane was quite literally the lone bright spot for this team. And it was, when I say lone, I mean lone. There was nothing else to in my opinion, to look at and have some kind of glimmer of hope in. Devon Achane, 22 rushes, 96 yards. He also finished on that with 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. He's literally been there. This before I get into anything else, I just want to say this: he's literally has been the best player on the team the first 2 weeks of this season. He's literally been the best player, and that says a lot. But again, I'm gonna go into further detail. Jonnu Smith, 6 catches, 53 yards. Jalen Waddle, 4 catches, 41 yards. Tyreek Hill, 3 catches, 24 yards. Not a damn sack in sight. And if you watch the game, maybe they pressured Josh Allen maybe 4 times the entire game. Maybe. Let's get into the Bills side of the ball. Josh Allen, 13 for 19, 139 yards, a touchdown. The man didn't even really have to do much of anything. They ran the ball extremely well the entire night. They didn't have to do nothing. James Cook, who had a monster game, 11 rushes, 78 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown. Khalil Shakir, 5 catches, 54 yards. Excuse me. And that was pretty much it. I mean, there's so many directions we could go in about this game, man. There's so many things we could speak on. But the first thing I want to speak on for sure, I want to speak on the Tua Tagovailoa unfortunate injury and him receiving, or not receiving, I should say, him being diagnosed to actually having another concussion. So he's not only concussed again, but he was also fencing, when your hands kind of stagger and stem up on you, stuff like that. It was sad to see once again, terrible to see. My question is, Larry, where we're gonna start off this episode at, we're gonna put all football aside, right? We know how we both feel about Tua as the player, but Tua the person seems like a good person. You hear people rave about him being a good man all the time and things of that nature. What is next for him, Larry? What do you think should be considered next for him? Should he strongly actually consider retirement, like many people have spoken out and said, or is this just another bump in the road for him and he'll be back on the field?
Man, to seriously answer that question, you would have to really look at the history of not only him and the injuries, but just the history of him on the Dolphins, just to speak on a professional level. And this is will be his fourth concussion, I believe. He had a
Mm-hmm.
concussion against the Bills 2 years ago, a concussion against the Packers. We all know the Cincinnati hit where his body went in a state of rigor mortis, you know, and now this one.
Mm.
Speaking on him as a person, yeah, he is a good guy. Everybody does love him from what I've ever seen about the guy. Um, Everybody loves what he does for the Dolphins as a community. Alabama fans in the community over there always rave about the guy. His, his hometown or where he's from. But honestly speaking, as a guy who's not the biggest fan of Tua, but a football fan nonetheless, I know how football players are. I know that he doesn't want to hear that he may have to consider retirement.
Mm.
I do want to think that he will go out and try to still play, try to still perform, but you don't know the guarantee of how he will be in the next, hell, 5, 10, 15 years. Let's not even talk about 30 years, because we've seen what multiple head injuries have done to players as of the past decade or two.
Mm.
It's a very unfortunate, um, thing to see, and to be a fan and watch that transpire it was crazy, man. But I think he does need to consider an effective change in his life, because 4 concussions in 2 to 3 years, and you're 26 years old, it might be that time, man.
Right.
And it's crazy to think that I'm answering this as humane as possible, because what I really want to say is he didn't make a quarterback move. You're supposed to slide. And
Right.
he went head first into the defender who was, DeMar Hamlin. Head first into the man. So it's you can't blame the defender on this one, how everybody's been blaming defenders on hits and injuries to players, um, um, offensive players who can't defend themselves. We
Mm.
can't we can't pin that on a defender this time. Tua led himself into the situation. It is as baffling as the play was to see it. It's more baffling to see that that's not what's being addressed. He didn't make a quarterback move. He didn't slide. We're supposed to feel sorry for a terrible decision.
Right.
It's unfortunate that it happened to him again. But dude, are you kidding me? Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, I'm gonna let you get in right there.
So yeah, man, I completely agree with everything you're saying, and I'm gonna take it a step further, man. First and foremost, man, if you watched me long enough, if you follow me on TikTok long enough, you know I am a Tua supporter and Tua fan. I love Tua. Like, I wanted Tua coming out the draft. I've said this multiple times. I never had a problem with the Dolphins drafting Tua per se, but I never lied to myself about who he is as a player. But the person we're talking about now seems to be a great human being. He's a recent father, just recently became a father, has a wife. This guy has much more to live for outside of football. It's bigger than football at this point. So, in my personal opinion, I know it's not neither or of our place or anyone's place at that to sit here and try to tell him how he should approach his career, his life. Because at the end of the day, Tua's a grown man. He gonna do whatever he pleases or whatever he thinks is best for him, his family, whatever the case may be. But when you take into consideration all things considered, and you ask yourself, is this worth it? Do you believe this is worth him going out there and pretty much at this point seems as if just sacrificing his body at, I believe he's 26 years old, and possibly having long, strenuous, and just long term effects of concussions for the rest of his life because he wants to play this sport? And to me, the answer is no. It's not worth it. I mean, you've already made. I know a lot of people talk about the contract. It hasn't taken effect yet. If he does retire on his own volition, he'll basically null and void 126 million in guarantees. It's not about money, man. Like I promise you, if you go and talk to this man's family, they would choose him over any amount of money in the world. Like for him to retire and be normal, not out here, losing his mind like some of the athletes we've seen in recent history, like he was alluded to the last 10 years, like Junior Seau and things of that nature. I promise you, they would take their son's sanity and in good health over 100 whatever $1 million he would get in guarantees. I promise you they'll take it. Because at the end of the day, you can't replace him. You can't. So I think a lot of people have to realize that this is something that is very much real, and this is something that I fully believe it's not just going to be a conversation at this point. It's going to be multiple specialist opinions. It's going to be multiple people telling him what they believe is the long-term ramifications and effects of these things. And as ultimately, he has to be honest with himself. Like, is this something I can really hold up and handle for the next, at minimum, 3 years? And I just don't know if he can. Because like what you just said, what happened was a pretty routine football play. I mean, yeah, you would like to see the quarterback slide and things of that nature. Reality is the quarterback doesn't slide every time they run. They get hit sometimes. Sometimes they try to, initiate the contact like he did. And it literally just did not work out for him. So, yes, he should have slid. I thought we should agree with that. But at the end of the day, bro, we can't ignore that. Like you said, we can't ignore that literally nothing happened to the extent that should have garnered him being concussed yet again. That just shows that he's now prone to them. And that isn't something that just goes away. So this has to be something he seriously takes into consideration. But I'm just praying for the man's health, speedy recovery, and for him to live a long life after football. Regardless if he wants to retire or not, I truly just want the best for the man. I don't want to see him become a vegetable. I really don't. But with that being said, man, we have to get into the football aspect of what transpired last night and what occurred with this team last night. So what are your first thoughts from the game last night, man? Like what did you gather? Yeah, I know it was a lot.
A couple of things, man. A couple of things, and these are things that are very, like I said, are very unfortunate, man. But like I said, the human being, I hope he's okay. Like being a human to human, I hope he's all right. Whether he was concussed or not, that man is not the answer, bro. It's sad to say, it's unfortunate to say, but I'm sticking by it, bro. Like the play that he put out there was not that of 200 plus million, bro. I'm sorry to break anyone's hearts. I'm sorry to be that guy, that Dolphin fan that hates their quarterback, that football fan that hates their quarterback. But well, if you want to call it that, because I don't hate anyone. But it's unfortunate to say that the play against top tier opponents is abysmal. It's not good. I have never seen him play top tier level opponents throughout the course of a game, and I'm confident that we could go in and beat all of them. Maybe the comeback against the Ravens, you can even throw the Packers game, but even though we still lost, you could You could try to throw me any alley oop to try to make it convincing, but I'm not going to be convinced ever that before this concussion occurred, that this guy was going to be my quarterback over the course of the next 5 years. And when you have a quarterback who's, even though he was getting hit, who can't even throw the ball out of bounds and throws a pick six, I'm done with you. The next thing, we have no third wide receiver. Dubois, Robbie Chosen, Braxton Berrios. Cut them, sorry. Cut them. Let them boys go.
Right.
Man, I don't know what's going on, man. I know River Craycraft still hurt. Man, throw the rooks in, bro, at that point. Because there's no way we got through training camp. Re-signed Robbie Chosen, who walked through training camp literally 2 weeks before the season started because he wasn't there. I believe he was on someone else's practice squad.
Yeah, he was. He was I think he was with Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Arizona or Tampa Bay. It was somebody in red.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the uniform.
Bro, no way you're gonna sit here and tell me these are my third receivers, bro. I can't get behind that whatsoever.
Right.
I would rather have the rooks come in and make a mistake of like Robbie Chosen maybe running the route a little too short or cutting it off too quickly, whatever excuse you want to throw. It's still not the answer. It's still not it. They need to go. Right? A third thing, just because I wanted to feel special. O-line, horrible. Jesus Christ. The same, how can I say? The same concerns we had going into the game, held into the season, was solidified Thursday night. Aaron Brewer snapping problems. Interior lineman not blocking. There's no push. There's no strength in there. It's Teron Armstead with penalties. He was hurt. He had to sit out some plays. Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg inconsistencies. Austin Jackson getting killed by Greg Russo from time to time. It's too much, man. Especially when your best option at quarterback can't even make the best option for himself. It's Going on the defensive side, just so I could give you some time to answer as well. The defensive line was not giving no push, couldn't stop no run, couldn't fill no gaps. Linebackers missing tackles. I see David. The only gripe I have on the referees was David Long got picked on that James Cook reception touchdown because they came out and ran literally the exact same play they were going to run, and the adjustment was. ... question mark. What was the adjustment? If you see a man coming in motion to one side and the running back goes to the left, somebody should be automatically checking him from the outside. But what do I know? Because David Long, who was checked on him, got picked, which I thought was an offensive pass interference. But I guess it's hearsay, you know? But I can't even really say anything on the secondary because, yeah, it was a few missed plays, but the defense, it was literally just the defensive line and the linebackers. I think Jordan Poyer had like an unnecessary roughness that kept one of their drives alive. They got Ty Johnson catching passes at the 1 yard line. Like it's
over. Don't forget over Jalen Ramsey too.
Like it's
the man just became the highest paid corner in NFL history, and these first 2 weeks have not been good. They have not been good.
It's looking like it's looking like it's going to more than likely become a fucking. It's looking like it's going to become a shit show, and a shit show to the point of no return, man. Who's going to be our quarterback? We talking about receivers, secondary. Who's going to come in and be quarterback? They're talking about bringing in Trey Lance. Oh my God, 6-11 sounds better than nothing.
It's listen, man. It's a lot of avenues we could go. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things I could pivot to. I can allude to everything you just said, my brother. But all this go back to one man and one man only. And I've said this since 3 years ago. And maybe, just maybe, people will start to see what the hell I've been saying. Chris Greer has to be fired. There's no way possible, right? Unless this dude got some blackmail scheme going on behind the doors against Stephen Ross, whatever the case would be. I don't know. But there's no way on God's green earth Chris Greer survives this season if it just absolutely goes to shit. There's no way he survives it because everything they've done to try to rectify their terrible offseason of letting talent walk like Christian Wilkins, like AVG, like Robert Hunt has been horrendous so far. You try to replace Christian Wilkins with a group of guys, Benito Jones, Danny Peely, who else? Calais Campbell has looked solid, but he's literally playing half the snaps a game. Like he's 38 years old. I don't get what people thought he was gonna come in and be. Like, yes, he had a good week one, absolutely. But last night you wouldn't even know he was playing. Like you completely would not know he was playing until you see him knock down a pass from Josh Allen. That was it. Then Zach Sealer has been literally virtually non-existent. They have nothing in the interior, nothing. And then you get to the pass rush. Listen, Larry, I know you like the man, but I'm done with Jalen Phillips, man. I'm done. If he signs an extension with this team, I'm done. Because the lack of effort, strength, and just overall like competitiveness that I seen from him last night going up against Deion Dawkins and Sheldon Brown, I believe their right tackle for the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, was putrid. He was terrible. The one play, Josh Allen rolls out to the right, and he get put on his stomach by Brown. And I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be the best on this team. You can't even get me one pressure. Forget a sack, Larry. Forget sacks. The dude could not get in the backfield. I'm talking about the entire game. He is clamped. He's in a box. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? We got 2 first-round picks on that defensive side on the edges. And not one of them can get anything? Nothing? We talking about nothing? And then the linebacker play, I guess, was okay-ish. You want to see them defend the pass a little better, but it's not much they could do when your defensive line can't generate no pressure. And I know a lot of people are gonna look at the numbers, they're skewed, they're gonna say, oh, the Dolphins defense don't give up that many yards, this, that, and the third. This defense is terrible. It's terrible. They were one great play away from Javon Holland for being 0-2, and the large part of that would have been because the defense can't stop a damn soul. They can't stop nobody. They can't rush the passer. They don't defend the pass all that well. They for damn sure can't stop the run. I mean, 2 weeks straight, you got a guy averaging 7 yards per carry on you for 2 weeks straight. This is not going to happen. And listen, let me say this, because I know a lot of people gave Vic Fangio flake. I know a lot of people said Vic Fangio was the biggest problem with this team. And I was one of the few people that came on here and said it's 50-50. Yes, Fangio had his problem, but this team that y'all swear is just oozing talent on that side of the ball is not. It's not. It's not as great as we think it is. It's not as sufficient as we think it is. It won't suffice. And damn it, I wish I was wrong, but I'm not. It's not good enough. It's not. The regardless of what unit you want to look at on that side, it's not good enough. Jalen Ramsey, like I said earlier, became the highest paid corner in the league. I don't at this point, I don't see why. I mean, listen, I like Jay Ram. I hope he gets it together. Maybe it's just a hamstring injury lingering. Hopefully that's what it is. But these first two games of the season, I haven't seen a top 5 corner. I just haven't. I haven't seen any top anything out of this team on that side of the ball. Now, let's get into the offensive side. And this is where I'm going to go on a little tangent because I said this to you before, Larry, and I say it again, man. I don't get on how God's green earth y'all see Mike McDaniel and say he's a football genius or he's a great play caller or he's at this point he's good at being a coach. It is abysmal. It's terrible. The play calling has been atrocious, bro. Then the beginning of this year, it's been horrible. Last night, we literally witnessed this man call up Julian Hill to those seam routes to him when you literally paid Jonnu Smith this money to come in and be your fourth receiving threat. And now he should really be your third because Odell is out. And speaking of Odell, why sign this dude? It's another case to why Chris Greer should be fired. And again, it's so many other things you can say why Chris Greer could be fired. It's a multitude of reasons at this point. But the play calling has not been good, man. I don't get on Wild God's green earth. You're going for it so consistently on your side of the field and giving away good field position. I don't understand why you're so hell-bent on running these flare screenings when they're not working. I don't get why you're so hell-bent or piss poor clock management. You're down 14 with the ball in your hand on the last drive of the first half. You don't get it back the second half, and there's no sense of urgency whatsoever. It's as if they were playing to just get the hell out the stadium at that point. Where is the phenom, the genius, the offensive guru? Where is it? Because I don't see it. In the last 9 games against Buffalo, this team is 1-8. In the last 16, they 2-14. It's not good. And he routinely, and I mean routinely, bro, he routinely gets out coached by the quote unquote better coaches of the league. Whether it's Sean McDermott, Andy Reid, whether it's whoever else you want to indicate when he's on the better teams, he consistently, routinely, often gets out coached, bro. I mean, at what point is it a question of, okay, how smart is this guy really? Like, is that safe to ask at this point? Because I'm confused on how we're not at that point yet. It's been 3 years, and he looks to be figured out. No team seems to be struggling right now with the Dolphins offense, despite all these weapons, despite Tyreek Hill getting all his guaranteed money, despite Jalen Waddle getting his contract, despite you drafting all these speedsters in your backfield. It seems to be figured out. And what is he doing about it? Absolutely nothing. He's done nothing. He wants to stick to his guns and prove his way could win, it seems to me. It ain't working. And the last thing I say in regards to Tua and Teron Armstead, listen, I'm keeping it real with y'all, man. I truly wholeheartedly believe the Dolphins won't win anything of note until those two guys are replaced. I truly believe that. Whether it's this season or the season after next, whether Teron decides to call it a career, whether Tua decides to call it a career, you won't win anything of substantial value until those two guys are replaced because of the simple fact they play the two most important positions on the offensive side of the ball. And when you have two guys that are solid, are good at the game when they are healthy, but they can't stay healthy. You'll never win, never, because at the end of the day, the best ability is availability, and they neither one of them got it. Teron Armstead is hurt literally every other week, literally. Like that's not even hyperbole or me just fibbing. That is a literal fact. Every week he seems to be in an injury report. Every week. And as far as Tua goes, listen, man. I like I said, separate the player from the person. He's a great guy, man. From all things considered, you have to be honest about what this means for his career at this point. Let's not forget, Andrew Luck called it a career in his early 20s too. Well, not early, but his late 20s too. Let's not forget that a lot of players lose out on this game. So I really do feel as if this team has a lot of house changes, house cleaning, and that's some of the main things, man. But you got anything else you want to add, Larry? Hello? All right, so I'm gonna finish off this show just on my lonesome now. I think Larry fell asleep over there, but nonetheless, man, this is a this isn't a good situation for the Dolphins right now, man. It's just not. Put the game aside, forget what happened last night, forget what transpired. We have to just be honest about what this team is at this point. What this team is at this point is not good enough. Nowhere near good enough, if we're being honest. And hello?
My audio wasn't picking up,
No, I didn't hear you.
bro. But what you were saying now?
I was saying, you got anything else you want to add?
Man, I'm interested to see who's gonna be our next quarterback, man. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're at a point where they have no choice but to, at the very least, draft a quarterback at this position. At this
Definitely have to
point.
draft the quarterback.
But the thing is, they're in the they're sort of in that middle ground area where it's like you're not bad enough to draft high enough to get a pristine guy, but you're also not good enough to just not try to go out and get them. So they more than likely, if they want a guy who they actually really like and think could come in and help this team be just as good, if not better, something is going to have to be parted. And let me say this, Chris. I hope to everything that is holy. Chris Greer is not the guy that's deciding who's the next quarterback. I genuinely hope it's not him, man, because I don't know what else people got to see to understand. People just don't know what the hell he's doing. I just genuinely don't know. I mean, this is the same guy that for the last 2 years have literally told us, oh, the fans are more worried about the offensive line than we are. Literally has told us he and Mike McDaniel laughs about the fact that people are so heavily concerned over the offensive line. If he would have been in any other major city that is a huge sports town, Philly, Cleveland, somewhere in Texas, whether it's Houston or Dallas, bro, they would have crucified this dude. He would have lost his job. Literally laughing at fans because they're worried about a actual worry that something that's actually concerning. Come on, bro. This dude he doesn't have a clue. Like, it's time to let it go. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's obvious at this point. Like, what do we? I don't get what Stephen Ross what else he needs to see to know he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I said, he gotta have something on this dude, man, because there's no way this man can keep this job after this year, because he's failed at every step and turn of this rebuild. He's failed. I don't care that you would have got Tyreek Hill. I don't care you would have got Bradley Chubb. I don't care you would have got Jalen Ramsey. You won nothing. It's amounted to nothing. You drafted horribly. Yes, Devon A-Chain looked like a stud. Good draft pick. Everything else the last 2-3 years has not been good. Everything else. Tua. What can we say at this point? We can't say you're a bad player, but can you say and honestly believe he can help you compete with the better teams in the AFC? I don't think so. He's 5-10 against playoff teams in his career. He's 1-8 against the Bills in his career.
Terrible.
What are you winning with that? Austin Jackson got his lunch took last night by a 35-year-old Von Miller who hasn't played a good game of football in over 4 years. Austin Jackson got completely owned.
Considering Cousins has averaged over.
Yeah, my bad. That was Alexa, but
No, you good.
Like I'm saying, man, like it's just too many wrongs to sit here and try to convince ourselves that Chris Greer is the right guy to right this ship. He's not. He's just not. And it's time the team realizes that. And as in the team, I mean Stephen Ross, do what you got to do, man. I understand you're a billionaire. This stuff is for profit for you, entertainment, whatever the case may be. If this man has any lick of football sense or any just common sense with two eyes, you can see this dude it doesn't have a clue. Like it's not hard. It's not hard to see. It just doesn't make sense, man. Like again, it's so many wrongs. It's so many places you can point to, so many indications we could go to. The fact of the matter is, this has been a losing team for our entire lives. That's the fact of the matter. And if they want things to change, you got to start at the head of the snake, and that's Chris Greer. He has to go. I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that in order for things to change, Chris Greer has to be fired. He has to be. And if firing Chris Greer means you got to part ways with McDaniel and Tua because the GM want to come in and decide his own head coach and quarterback tandem, so be it. So be it. Who cares? At this point, who gives a shit? Like, excuse my language, but who cares? Because they're winning nothing. Forget winning anything. They can't even compete to win. Like, let it go.
Mm-mm-mm.
But is there anything else you want to add? Like, what? So let me just ask you this, my boy.
Of course.
What's next, man? Like, put Tua aside because I know that's where you are, pivoted to first. What's next now? Tua aside, quarterback aside. Let's just say, theoretically speaking, Tua comes back and plays. 9-10 times if he comes back and plays, he's going to be in the Dolphins uniform because the guaranteed money, he'll be untradeable at that point because no team is going to want to pick up a contract with an injury-prone quarterback. What's next?
Honestly speaking, man, it's kind of tough for me to try to find a direction to go to say what's next, especially with the uncertainty on Tua and how, man, because if you really look at even last week's game, we didn't look good.
Right.
So it's
and
really
that's the thing. Hold on, I didn't mean to cut you off, boy.
Now you good. Go ahead.
That's the thing that blows me the most. Everyone, I listen, like I tell you, bro, I listen to so many podcasts, dog, just to hear like different opinions and to see what people heads are in regards to the team. Or, just in my, when I'm at work, trying to make time go by, I listen to podcasts. Now, when I tell you the amount of people that just brush it off, oh, well, you don't apologize for winning in this league. Oh, well, they won. That's all that matters. When I tell you that stuff blows me, it's because you're not being honest and genuine on what you've seen on the field. You just care about the W and L column. And that's the most important column. Don't get me wrong. That's the most important stat. Not denying that. But The context of these things matter as well. And the fact that people went into the Jacksonville game and sat there and said the defense looked good or played well enough in any capacity is fucking boggling to me. It blows my mind because the defense was horrible. The play calling was horrible. The play from the quarterback was bad. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. Especially when you consider where this team was at just the beginning of last season. That's why I said earlier they seem figured out. Like, but go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I just think it's man, I I don't know, bro. Like, cause like I said, I don't feel like it's safe. Hell, I don't even feel like it's natural for Tua to come back and play football. Cause the state of the concussions that he's not only gone through but endured and came back from is it's insane, and it's already hard to say that bringing him back is the best possible solution for us to win, because like you said, the win and L column is the most important thing in any facet of sports. Like, that is the bottom line. Did you win or lose? And I just don't think that it's gonna be completely morally safe to bring this man back and say, yeah, he's gonna be our quarterback for however long. Like, who knows how long his career is gonna be now with a third or fourth concussion. So honestly speaking, man, the next route for this team is just probably to either find his replacement or to bulk up in most of the other positions, man, and try to show that even if we don't have the top of the line best quarterback for this system, that we could have at least a team that will go out there and perform. So
Man, the thing is, I think they already done that, Larry. I think they've listen, I don't and like I said, I preface this first, man. I have nothing at all against Tua as the person, because hell, I don't got nothing against him as a player. At the end of the day, this is a sport. It's all for entertainment purposes. But if we're being honest, right, and where the truth is being told, truth be told is they've done as much flake as I give Greer. They've done everything they possibly could have to put Tua in the most successful predicament that he could be in. They give you an all-pro receiver. They drafted you a first-round receiver who's damn good in Jalen Waddle. They've enlisted and went out and got talent at every level of the offense, and it's amounted to nothing. Now, granted, the offensive line could be better. Not denying that it could be better, but when you look at some of these plays and you look at some of these games, I've showed you film, bro. It's at times the offensive line isn't even horrible and Tua doesn't look up the par. I mean, look at the Bills game from last season when they had to close out the season at home against the Bills and they also lost the division. The man looked bad in the game where he had time to throw the ball and he had decent protection on a pretty consistent basis that night. I understand this night was different. He did not have that luxury, but at the same time, bro, we've seen him play with somewhat decent protection and still not get it done. So at some point, it's not just the offensive line is bad. At some point, it's not just the third receiver isn't good. Because at some point, maybe the guy just not good enough. Just maybe. Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it all comes back to. Maybe the guy at quarterback just ain't good enough. Maybe that's what it is. And at this point, it's hard to argue that he is. I don't care that he signed an extension. I don't care that he led the league in passing yards last season. It's amounted to absolutely nothing. You've won nothing. Not a division, not a playoff game, nothing. So, and that's why I be so confused when they hand out all this big money. Like they've won something. You giving all this big time money to guys that aren't even homegrown talents. Jay Ramsey, credit for him, good player. You let Christian Wilkins walk. Homegrown talent. You could have been re-signed him, didn't do it. Robert Hunt, homegrown talent, couldn't re-sign him. I'm not saying that you should prioritize these guys over Jalen Ramsey, but there's no reason why a deal shouldn't have been done to keep at least one of them. You need to keep one of them. It just doesn't make sense, man. And in my personal opinion, if I had to say what's next for the Dolphins is, I'm gonna be honest, man. The next thing to me, I told you in Rio this a few months ago when we first started the pod up and we were doing our season predictions. I told y'all both this, man. If it doesn't work out this season, blow it the hell up. Everyone is fair game. Fire sale. It's like Call of Duty. Blow it up. Whoever can go for anything of value, take it. That's how I see it, honestly. Because at this point, what's the point of holding on to these pieces? You're not winning nothing with them. The only pieces to me, in my personal opinion, you can hold on to and actually try to build foundations around is maybe Devon A-Chain. Well, not maybe. I think you do hold on to A-Chain. And maybe Jalen Waddle. Maybe. Because at this point, those two are more than young enough to stay around for the next 5-6 years and still be impactful players. And on top of the fact that they'll help a young quarterback come in and actually be, the best version of themselves. But other than that, in my personal opinion, if you ask me, everyone else is fair game. Literally everyone else. Tyreek, Ramsey, Armstead. Who else are we talking about? Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips, everyone else, in my personal opinion, fair game. Blow it up. There's no reason to hold on to these guys if you're not winning that with them. You blow it up. But you had anything you want to add to that, my boy?
Man, especially if, because, this is a Chris Greer guy. If Tua retires and cannot finish this season, I will be 100% on board with you, bro. Saying it's time to let it all go and figure something else out. Because to come out there and every piece damn near that he's ever drafted is either gone, hurt, or lack of a better word, ass. It's time to go. It's time to move into a different direction, bro. So I gotta agree with you there, man. It might just be time for everything to just be blown up, man.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, man. Honestly speaking, man, it's terrible to say because this team has so many expectations these last 2-3 years. They've had so much talent, and to sit here for us to be to the point where you genuinely have to start considering another rebuild after all the draft capital you've spent, whether it's in the draft, whether it's trading away for players, all the big time money you've given out to multitude of players, Tyreek, J-Ram, Waddle, Tua, Teron, whoever else we want to name, Zach Sealer when he signed his deal at the time. Like, whoever we want to name, man. For it to come to this and for it to be a legitimate question of is it time to pull the plug and you've won nothing during that span it is an abomination, and he should, in my personal opinion, be fired for it. It's a fireable offense to miss this badly and to whiff this badly on a rebuild when you had a year where you drafted your supposed to be franchise guy, Yo, supposed to be franchise left tackle and a cornerstone on the defensive side at corner for you. And all in one draft in one round, in the first round. And you miss on every pick. It's a fireable offense. In my opinion, he should have been fired after that shit didn't work out. He should have been fired after that. Man, that's another conversation for another day, man. Another conversation for another day. I do think it's time. I do think it's time. But we're almost at the hour mark. So is there anything else you want to add later before we head out?
Nah, man, I don't want to add nothing else, bro.
Okay, so well, folks, we're gonna call it a show here. We're not gonna do any hot takes today. I'm gonna stick to the Dolphins because I just feel as if a lot was said today that needs to be said and people need to hear. Because at the end of the day, we gotta be honest about what the product is on the field, and it's just not good enough. So, with that being said, appreciate you all tuning in always to the show. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, click the bell to be notified whenever we go live. Remember, I'm not on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever social you have. 9 out of 10 times I'm there. Just look at the name Last Word Productions. And yeah, that'll be it for the show, guys. Appreciate y'all as always.
Yes, sir.
Boy.